Welcome to Histoire et Mystère. Today, we take you back in time to uncover a fascinating story. L'ombre du roi Soleil, le venin de la cour. Stay with us till the end. Under the blinding glare of Versailles' gold, where the Sun King dances to defy the stars, a foul darkness creeps through the marble corridors. Did you know that behind the scents of musk and jasmine hid the acrid stench of arsenic and sulfur? This is the true story of the affair that nearly toppled the most powerful throne in the world. The affair of the poisons. Paris, winter 1677. The city was nothing but a labyrinth of mud, screams, and fog. The Seine River flowed like black ink under the bridges, carrying secrets that no one dared to whisper. Far from the sparkling mirrors of Versailles, Gabriel Nicolas de la Reynie, the first Lieutenant General of Police, stared at an amber glass vial. He sat in his cold office at the Châtelet, the walls lined with reports of sudden deaths among the elite. La Reynie was a man of iron. Under his austere wig, his eyes sought only order in a city of chaos. But what he discovered that night would shake his faith in humanity. Paris was dying, not of hunger, but of inheritance powders. It was a silent plague. A wife tired of her husband, a son greedy for his father's title. Everyone had a reason to visit the apothecaries of the night. Another one, Monsieur, whispered his deputy Disgrès, as he shook the snow from his heavy coat. The old Marquis de Saint-Benoît died this morning. His servants say his entrails burned as if he had swallowed embers. La Reynie knew. People no longer feared the dagger. They feared their own glass of wine, or the very letter they unsealed. The investigation led them to the outskirts of the city, to a house that smelled of boiled herbs and burnt fat. "Find the woman, Disgrès," La Reynie finally said, his voice cold as the winter air. "Find the one they call La Voisine. Catherine Monvoisin." Known as La Voisine, was no fairy tale creature. She was a red-faced, sharp-tongued businesswoman who grew poisonous belladonna in her backyard. She held court in the Rue Beauregard, where the highest ladies of France came disguised in common rags. In her garden, she cultivated strange herbs under the moon. One evening, a silhouette wrapped in a black silk cloak stepped out of a carriage with no coat of arms. It was no street girl, but a lady whose violet perfume betrayed her membership in the highest aristocracy. "Enter, madame," hissed La Voisine, knowing exactly who stood behind the mask. Destiny does not wait for those who have the courage to force it. Do you seek love? Or do you seek an ending? In the cellar, transformed into a hideous chapel, the air was heavy with incense and the metallic tang of blood. The client wanted more than a horoscope. She wanted her husband to disappear into the earth. She wanted the eternal, obsessive love of the king, who was beginning to look at younger faces. "The blood of a newborn will be necessary for the Black Mass," La Voisine declared with clinical coldness. The lady in the cloak did not flinch. Her ambition was a fire that consumed all morality. Meanwhile, at Versailles, the Sun King beamed. He moved through the Hall of Mirrors like a god among men. But he was no fool. He felt the cold whispers behind his back and the shifting loyalties of his ministers. His favorite, the superb Madame de Montespan, seemed nervous, her laughter too sharp, her eyes too wide. She watched the young Mademoiselle de Fontanges, a girl of 17, with a hatred that could curdle milk. La Reynie began his arrests. One by one, the witches of Paris were dragged into the light. He found ledgers, black books filled with the names of the most powerful families in France. Dukes, duchesses, and defrocked priests were all bound by a blood pact of poison and prayer to the dark. Under the torture of the boot, a witness named Marie Bosse screamed, "You want the truth. The truth is in the king's bed. Your son sleeps with a demon." Louis XIV, stunned by the scale of the betrayal, created the Chambre Ardente. It was a special court sitting in a room hung with black velvet, lit only by tall, flickering torches. The absolute shock came when a witness claimed that Madame de Montespan herself had been the one on the altar. She had fed the king love powders, made of dried moles and human remains. Desperate to keep her crown, La Reine stood before an abyss. To pursue the investigation meant arresting the woman who had mothered the king's children. Louis XIV spent a sleepless night in his study, staring out at the silent, frozen fountains of his gardens. He held the reports in his hands. He saw the signatures, the dates, the horrific details of the rituals. The Sun King found himself facing the deepest darkness of his reign. If he let justice act, the monarchy would be stained forever. If he stayed silent, the murderers would go free. Burn these pages, he finally ordered La Reine, his voice barely a whisper. The rest, let justice be done. But her name must never be spoken in this court. For the sake of the children. On February 22, 1680, La Voisin ascended the pyre at the Place de Grève. She died without a scream, looking at the sky with a defiant, drunken grin. Taking the court's secrets to the flames. Madame de Montespan was never arrested, but the king's love turned to ice. She was gradually cast out, ignored in the hallways she once ruled. Ending her days in a convent. She spent her final years in prayer, terrified of the dark, always sleeping with 20 candles lit. The Sun King continued to shine, and Versailles became even more magnificent. But beneath the music of the violins, there was always the faint, bitter scent of almonds in the air. And the shadow of the poisoners never truly left the king's side. Thanks for watching the full story.